Hello, welcome to Sports Club Training for 2025-26 season. My name is Alex Cotter. I'm the Opportunities and Events Manager at the Students' Union. I'll be running through this training today. Will take less than an hour, around 60 slides to go through. Sounds like a lot, but obviously feel free to fast forward and rewind to bits relevant to your role. But hopefully this gives like a general overview of how club sport will work for this coming season. I'm sending this out in July to committee members and to club email accounts, but it can be watched or listened to anytime during this academic year and still be relevant. Also, the slides will be sent out and also available online, so you can go through the slides without the voiceover if you prefer. Might be a bit quicker to get to relevant points. Also, there is in-person training on Monday, the 15th of September. There will be multiple sessions, 1 p.m. till 3 p.m. Some sessions running at the same time as other sessions, more tailored to your specific committee role. So some sessions for presidents and captains and vice presidents, also social secs around welcome events, that sort of thing. Also some financial stuff. So more information will be sent out closer to the time, but one for the diary. This training will obviously be online, like I say, for the full year. So if it gets to any point during the year and you've unsure on how to pay for a kit or who to speak to around certain dates, you can refer back to this, or of course come into the SU or send me an email. So here's what we're going to cover today. We'll go through the key contacts and roles here at the SU and at Christchurch Sport, your role descriptions, some sponsorship and club funds info, some books information if your team or club competes weekly in books or at events. We've got some key events going on this academic year, the key forms you need to be aware of, and also what to do over the remainder of the summer. So we'll start off with your staff, people that help run clubs. We've got Zach on the left, Molly in the middle, and myself, Alex, on the right. So Zach is the new student groups and events coordinator. Molly entering her second year as president of Student Life, and myself, events and ops manager. Our email addresses are there. So any questions or any queries throughout the year, feel free to obviously email or come into the SU for a chat. So Zach, what does he do? He deals directly with your books admin, so fixture changes, dealing with walkovers, officials, paying officials, booking transport to away fixtures. He'll also be on books checking the scores, making sure you've entered them, checking team sheets that you've done them, and the results are all entered, and also some events admin. We've got Molly, who you probably know by now. So Molly would deal with some wider club issues. She is essentially the face of Team Christchurch, head of Student Voice, and she leads on sport-based campaigns. And obviously Molly sort of leads and helps lead with varsity and sports fed and other sporting events. And myself, helping with disputes or managing any appeals or complaints, leading on varsity, welcome fair, sports fed, projects, opportunity funds, also lead on risk assessments and management, and also financial stuff, queries, pay an invoice, sponsorship, that sort of stuff. Moving over to the key contacts at Christchurch Sport. You're probably aware of these people already. So we've got Scott on the left, Gemma in the middle, and then Ellie on the right. So Scott, assistant manager, Gemma, the manager, the delivery manager, and Ellie, sports development officer on the right. So Ellie is the first port of call for all sports-related matters. She deals with sports, mark, and club development, and it's a primary contact for new club initiatives such as fundraising events and campaigns, and also helps with membership support. So most people involved in clubs will be speaking to Ellie directly. We've also got Scott. So he works alongside and oversees club sport with Ellie, and he's the first port of call to do with health and safety, budgets and sports club finance issues, and also he's the lead contact for the sports with external clubs linked to. So that's rugby, hockey, and cricket, and he leads on the active campus. And both Ellie and Scott will be there at the in-person training on Monday the 15th of September. So anything before then, give them an email, or if it can wait to that date, they'll be there for a chat. So moving on to roles, committee roles, it is important to know, I guess, and to sort of appreciate that every club is different, every group is different. So we'll give a few pointers on what your role should look like and contain, and what you should do. But again, it is important to recognise that every club will be slightly different, and you might, as president, for example, you might try and ask some of your committee members to do a few extra things or a few less things, and move the roles around. But yeah, we'll give you a sort of brief overview. So first up, we have the role of president. So, president's role. First point of contact, the Students' Union and Christchurch Sport, quite an important one. We'll be sending those email addresses out, email passwords, out this week. So it'll be up to you to organise who has access to the email account, but then deal with those emails as they come in on a regular basis. So filtering information from the union and Christchurch Sport to your club and vice versa. A visible leader and ambassador of the club, and also there to help mediate any internal disputes. But we at the SU we can help when needed with this. Oversee the running of the club, so delegating duties and supporting committee members in their respective roles. Work alongside committee to organise sponsorship and events, ensuring good communication at all times. Also, they're reviewing any expense claims on the website alongside your vice president and treasurer, and then leading on elections for the new committee for the following year. So obviously we had our elections in May, so it's important you try and ensure your club moves forward the following year by making sure there's interest in the roles for next academic year. On to the vice president. Ensure offering some help and advice, working closely with the president. So attending meetings when the president isn't there and supporting the president, circulating information to club members alongside the president, booking rooms for meetings and events. Also there to review the expense claims alongside the president and treasurer, help with organising charity events, and working alongside the committee to organise sponsorship and events. Again, I keep saying it, I suppose, but each club is slightly different. So there are a basic few roles that a vice president will be expected to do, but each club may look slightly different. On to the treasurer. So the treasurer's role, to access the club finances, that's done through speaking to me. I can give you up-to-date account balances, creating and managing budgets in order to keep the club within budget, liaising with the SU and Christchurch Sport about finances, also in charge of charity and fundraising activity and totals, setting up affiliation membership prices, which needs to be done over the summer. You can let me know, and we can make sure we charge the right amount to your members. All those £5, for example, come in and they go into your own club account and build up. And also kit payments. I'll talk about kit payments shortly as well. Understanding financial procedures with the Students' Union. That might sound a little bit daunting, but it's not too complicated, and me and Zach here to help. So please, any problems or if you're unsure, just reach out. We're here to help. So liaising with the SU and external companies for kit, sober socials maybe, if you're going to book a room, an escape room, for example, or that sort of stuff. Sorting out payments and purchases. Again, I go on to it a little bit later on how to do this. But just liaising with me is the best way. Obviously, we don't give you your own card to spend. It's done through me and through invoices. So yeah, make sure we're reaching out. Taking the lead in seeking and securing external sponsorship. Again, every club is slightly different. So you might have found that your president has already done this, or your captain might know someone with a company, so again, it's in the treasurer's role and description here, but it's not always have to be done by the treasurer, but a good point for the treasurer to certainly be involved in, and be aware of the situation. And also, alongside the president and vice president, like we mentioned before, reviewing those expense claims when needed. Okay, we're going to just talk about a couple of things linked to the treasurer's role and finances. So it's important that certainly presidents and vice presidents are aware of this sort of stuff as well. But it doesn't, if you're a captain, for example, and you're watching, or if you're a social sec, feel free to keep watching, because it's important that we all know what's going on, I guess, within our committee. So sponsorship, it's an important and vital income. It's really important you start making contact now, basically, or as soon as possible over the summer. There might be a company out there, a local Canterbury company that wants to sponsor 2 teams, for example. You need to make sure you're one of those first 2 teams. But it's also just really important to do it now. So if you're successful, or when you're successful, the money comes into your account before the start of the year, and you can look to spend it at the start of the year. Because of course, if you don't start sorting this out until October, November, then you might miss the boat in terms of ordering kit on time. You can have more than one sponsor, so it's important that any sponsors you speak to are aware of this, of course. To make sure you are being open and honest with them. We have at the SU, we have some draft contracts we want you to use, or we need you to use. So that might be a bit daunting, but we're here to help, and we've got those contracts. Just need to put in a figure in there, some email addresses, some contacts of you and the company, sign them, and obviously anything that, the services that are going both ways. So do they want, for example, to have their logo on your kit? Do they want you to do X amount of social media posts, that sort of thing? Yeah, so we're here to help, and then she will have a look over the contract and then sign it off when we're happy. So don't worry, if you're not too confident, we're here to help, and if you send it in, then we can have a look at it. We'll send it back to you if you think you need to amend anything. And it sounds pretty obvious, but the money only goes into your club account when the company is paid. So we've had it in the past where you might agree a sponsorship with the company and they don't pay for weeks and weeks. So you can't use that money, of course, until they have paid. So please don't try and spend any money before it's all in your account. And it's also good to keep a close relationship with those sponsors for this sort of thing, this sort of reason. So potential sponsors, of course, majority will be local Canterbury based, but there's nothing stopping you from contacting people further afield. So bars and restaurants are definitely a common one. Local businesses, transport companies, student accommodation companies, and maybe sponsors that are linked to your specific sport. If you play hockey, is there a stick company out there who might be interested in sponsoring? So again, you know your club, you know your sport better than we do. So have a little think who might be interested. Also, you might be lucky. You might have a member of your club who has a family member has a business or similar. So feel free again to message all your members and tell them you're looking for sponsors. Can anyone help? I think each year it seems that a club or two get lucky, put in some hard work to secure it, but get lucky that they've got a member in their ranks that have got a link to a local or to a family business, and that's often where the best sponsors come along. Feel free to. This is not like a private thing. Getting your sponsorship. Feel free to message your members and let them know that you're looking for sponsors, and if they can help, please encourage them to help. On to the process. So I would encourage you to speak to me originally about your sponsor's credentials. 99 times out of 100 will be fine. There might be a company or two out there that go against our guidelines, but just speak to me nice and early about who you're speaking to. We'll then receive a sponsorship contract template, and a form to complete. So you'll get the template and then fill it in with the sponsor's details. So what you've agreed, are they giving you X amount, what you're going to do in return, sponsorship, social media, logos on there, all those sort of things that are for you and the current sponsor to have a chat about. Then return the contract and the form by the link provided. Wait for the students' union to sign this off. So it may take a couple of weeks during busy periods or people are on leave, especially over the summer. So it may take a couple of weeks. Then receive an email to say if the contract has been approved. We will request the money on your behalf, but may require your help, especially if you have close links with sponsors or it's a family business. And then we'll notify you when the payment is received and in your account, and therefore ready to spend, basically. So here's a few things on what you can spend your money on. So this is just a few ideas, basically. So we've got trophies and awards. We've got kit, extra training sessions. I know a couple of clubs this year had their training session organised through Christchurch Sport, but for whatever reason wanted some extra ones or different times, and they went out their way to organise their own, which is a nice use of the funds. Some freshers freebies, top right there, or welcome week, welcome fair freebies. Always good to have on your stall, things to give away for free to people. Go away remembering your club. Make sure you're organising this well in advance, of course. It can take time for us to process those invoices, but also if you're ordering things online, of course, give it a good few weeks. Hopefully you're thinking about this in July. Sober socials. I know a few clubs have been to escape rooms, cinema, I think last year or the year before, bowling last year. Good use of the money, and also accommodation. That is, of course, around competing. So that is not for your summer holiday. That is for teams like, for example, cricket, who got to the national finals. They subsidise some accommodation for their members using their funds. Snow sports, their Bucks event is normally over a weekend up in Milton Keynes. That they used theirs last year, or a little bit theirs last year, to subsidise accommodation. Pole Fitness and they do the same. So there are some good ways to spend that money once it's in. And also what you can't spend your money on. Basically, alcohol on the left. So it's not about going to Wetherspoons and getting around in for your club and then asking for the money back, because that's a no, I'm afraid. And also on the right there, basically selfish needs. So it's, let's say you're playing hockey again and your best player breaks his stick. It's not to buy them a new stick, unfortunately. So yeah, I guess the takeaway is for the club's greater, for the members of the club, basically, rather than just individuals. So on to how to spend your money. So on the left is our preferred method, invoicing. Ask the provider for an invoice and send it to me. I'll get it paid for you, as long as, of course, the funds are in your account. And it can take between 5 to 10 working days for them to receive the payment. A couple of hoops to jump through, and then transfer the money over, and then before that it's in their account. So please give them some idea of how long it will take. And on the right, using your own money, so you can claim the money back using a form on the SU website, but again, it will take 5 to 10 working days for you to receive the money back. But we'd recommend, as much as possible, paying via invoice to keep it nice and safe. Really important to always check before you spend the money. So your own or the club money, check with myself or Zach. We've definitely got a bigger input into how you spend the club money, because we can obviously tell you at the time, no, we're not going to pay this invoice for any reason, for X reason. But more important around spending your own money, we don't want you obviously to spend money and then you come back and claim it back, and we have to tell you that it's a no, because that's obviously it's not what anybody wants. So please check before spending your money, whether it be your own or the club money, if you're expecting or requiring to get it back. So that was a little bit of finance stuff. There will be some more finance training in September, some more slides, in-depth slides going out in September. And that's a few points I think are quite relevant to think about over the summer. So back onto the role descriptions. So onto captain. Again, sound like a broken record, but every club is different. So captain's role is certainly different if you're part of a cricket team, for example, compared to a snow sports team. They're going to be very different. But just generally, responsible for on pitch, on stage, on court issues, selecting the team each week or for each event with the coach or manager where applicable, responsible for entering team sheets and results on books play. So definitely those teams playing weekly fixtures, rugby, hockey, netball, for example, and responsible, for entering the results too. So organising training and matches with a coach, manager, or if there is no coach, obviously, working closely with the president, reporting injuries to the Students' Union and Christchurch Sport, and a key liaison with us at the SU regarding fixtures. It's up to the presidents if the captains have access to the club email account, but it could be come in handy for this reason. It's on you. For example, men's football have 3 teams, so it's on each individual captain for making sure their team is at the bus at the right time. We'll send out the information at what time you picked up. It's up to them to make sure they're there. It's up to them the behaviour of their team for the day on the pitch, on the coach. It's up to them about entering team sheets and results. Just make sure you're speaking to me and Zach or Zach. And we're here to help, of course. On to the wellbeing officer. Overall responsibility for welfare of members in the club setting. So obviously it doesn't mean that outside of the club it's all on you, or even when you're part of the club, but it's ultimately up to you to be that listening ear. And with that, to be approachable and friendly is certainly a good start. Signposting, focusing to local services in the university and Canterbury. So some training will be given, some more in-depth training in September. So that's an important one to know who to signpost to. There to support socials and group activity. Understand the services the SU and the university provide and keep clear and open communication between all parties, and then reporting things to either us at the SU or the university or the relevant people. You're not there to solve everyone's problems, but certainly signposting and that sort of thing is really important for the well-being role. On to social secretary, just briefly. Obviously, not a core committee role. So if your club doesn't have a social sec, not the end of the world. Your club can still run fine. But I suppose at university, the social side of playing sport is often quite an important one. So it is a nice role to have. So social secs run social events for the club, ensuring all events are inclusive, safe, and exciting. Certainly, including from the SU side of things, inclusive and safe, massively important. So have a little think carefully around your events that you're doing. Responsible for welfare of members during these events, and responsible for organising welcome events and liaising with the SU, ensuring correct processes are followed and relevant forms have been completed. So there will be some more face-to-face training around the welcome events that normally happen towards late September. So please make sure it's really, really vital that if you're a social sec and you're planning a welcome event, you need to come to that training so we can help you make it as safe as possible. And also, we'd like you to promote larger union events and involve your club in these events where possible. Also, of course, it's been great to see actually the last couple of years, lots of charity events that individual clubs put on, and all of the clubs, or lots of other clubs support them. So that's really nice to see, and that's really important as a social sec to try and drum up interest. And good attendances in other clubs' charity events. So moving on to the Bucks cycle, and what does a standard Bucks week look like? This is mainly for members of clubs that compete weekly. So netball, volleyball, football, futsal, etc. So start on the Thursday, let's say, top left. So Zach will send out fixtures for the following week. So start times and venues, even though all the information is or should be on Bucks Play, as long as the opposition, if you're away from home, as long as the opposition have updated it. Please ensure you've got a team ready to go. So if you're struggling, please let me and Zach know as soon as possible. We can, on the odd chance we can, if we give lots of notice, we can ask the opposition politely if they could move a fixture. Although this is commonly not allowed, but if we have notice, we can ask. But also, if you can't fulfil a fixture, it's better to give the opposition, of course, as much notice as possible, so 6 days or more. So the venue could be used for a different game, or the official knows well in advance, or if we're away from home, that we can cancel the transport 6 days or further in advance, so we don't incur any costs. So the following week after the weekend, Monday/Tuesday, Zach will confirm pickup times for the away fixtures, times and the officials for home fixtures. So please ensure you have the correct equipment ready to go. So scorecards if needed, any forms that you need, make sure you've got paper team sheets, any playing on the protest forms, hopefully it won't be used, but if they're needed, make sure you have them in paper form. Yes. So make sure, also officials, mainly organised by the SU, but sometimes some clubs, so lacrosse are normally quite good at organising or at least sourcing their own officials. So please make sure this is done. Speak to me and Zach, keep us in the loop. Let's work together to try and make sure we've got the correct amount of officials or the maximum amount of officials required for every fixture. And then onto the next day, onto game day Wednesday. Most teams, obviously, we have some weekend futsals at the weekend, Saturday, Sundays, but for most clubs playing weeklies on a Wednesday. So make sure you're there at the bus on time. Zach will give you the time that the bus is leaving. So please make sure your club, your team members are all there, ready to go for the time that Zach gives you. When you get to the game, please make sure you're liaising with officials and the opposition before the game, checking team sheets, and making sure, as silly as it might sound, making sure you're all aware you're playing by the same rules. Obviously, different sports have slightly different rules for cup matches, league matches, so please make sure you're playing by the same rules and expectations. You've had a look around the pitch, you're happy the pitch is safe or the court is safe, the runoffs are okay, all that sort of stuff. Again, your club, your sport better than us and better than me. So please make sure you're doing those checks before. And then team sheets done on a Wednesday morning or a Tuesday if you like, but team sheets are done. And then you're entering the results. It should be the home team. It's the job of the home team to enter, but there's no harm in entering them as the away team. Please make sure, I know it can be difficult. I understand it might be difficult if you're at home and you lose and you really don't want to put your score in. It's, you've sort of turned your phone off or you've stopped sort of thinking about the game, but it's really important. It is a responsibility of the home team and the captain to put it in. So please make sure that's done to stop Zach from having to chase on a Thursday morning. On to the Bucks rules and regs. for those competing in books. So some clubs don't. Cheer, and dance, for example. So it's going to give a brief overview. So you need to familiarise yourselves with your sports rules and regs. Okay, it's your job as a captain or as a member of your club to make sure you're aware of the correct rules. You can find them on the sport-specific books page. Things like the details of a match, so number of players, officials required, length of a fixture. Make sure you're aware that cup competition rules might be slightly different. And also an important one to be aware of is the rules on player movement. That is for teams, clubs with more than one team. You can't play in the first team, for example, for 8 or 9 games and then all of a sudden turn up playing in the second team. That's not allowed. So it's on Bucks website, the information. But this will be covered in detail in the captain's training. So again, it is good for everyone present and vices to be aware of these, the sort of the books, rules and regs. But the captain's definitely their responsibility to attend that captain's training in September and to be really aware of all the rules and regs. On to officials. Of course, doesn't apply to every club. So just quickly, the student union responsible for organising and paying for officials for Bucks matches only. Quite an important one. So off the top of my head, cricket, for example, play some local leagues, indoor stuff. Basketball, the same. So that's not going to be covered by your membership and by us paying it. So yeah, please make sure you're planning ahead for that for any sort of friendlies or external matches. Send us your contacts if you have any. We do our best, obviously, to try and get a good selection of officials, but for various reasons, one year we might have lots of football referees, the next year 2 or 3 of them have got different jobs, and all of a sudden we're struggling. So if you have any good ones, please let us know. It's really, it's vital that we have. It's obviously very vital we have good officials, and often people in the area, yourselves who are playing hockey, for example, you're going to know more hockey officials than I do. So please let me know if you have any good ones that we can use, and I can make contact with them. Mainly for football, hockey, lacrosse, netball, volleyball, basketball, and futsal. Rugby and cricket are done slightly differently. So local board we'll organise them. I'll get an email saying in 2 weeks' time we have X person refereeing this rugby match. And please communicate with Zach your feedback. So that's not, of course, just if you lose. I know what it can be like if you lose a game and all of a sudden you've got it in your mind that the official was terrible. He's got something against you. But please make sure if you're feeding back some negative stuff, make sure it's correct in terms of not just an opinion that's maybe because you've lost. So obviously, if they're speaking, negatively towards individuals or their actions or how they're turning up in maybe an unprofessional manner, but also it is nice to receive some positive feedback, and then we know that we can trust and we want this official to keep officiating. If we're not there to watch a fixture, which unfortunately we're not there to watch the vast majority, if an official is doing a poor job for whatever reason, we don't know about it unless you speak to us. So please communicate with Zach any feedback. Again, as long as it's not simply because you ended up on the losing team. On to kit, just quickly. So this year, you're free to speak to any provider, but please keep us at the SU in the loop, just so we can do some background checks. But most of the time, they are providers that have already been used, so it's fine. But just please keep us in the loop. A few basic rules: must be the majority Christchurch claret with the blue trim, as you can see there. We've got the football on the left, netball on the right. Must display the university crest, but of course, exceptions on colours can be made. I know Some teams do a special charity kit. Obviously, libero in volleyball away kits can be a different colour, of course, and goalkeeper kits. But yeah, any issues, please contact the SU, the Students' Union. But yeah, just keep communicating. We want to help you. We're not here to sort of say no, on a certain design. It's just trying to keep us in the loop. We want to help you. We want to make sure it's all paid on time, all those sort of things, and it also fits in those couple of rules. So sticking with kit and how to pay for your kit. So all payments for club kits are paid via invoice by myself. You need all the money in your account before the order is approved and began to be made by the company. Might sound obvious, but if you have 20 players you're ordering a kit for and only 19 have paid in, and you have insufficient money for the invoice to be paid, we can't and won't pay that invoice until everyone has paid in, basically, and all that money is there. So that can be a guarantee every year. There's one or two clubs that can be that can slow the process down a little bit. So, but please be aware of that. And club funds and sponsorship. So club funds that might be left over from last year's committee, sponsorship that hopefully you're able to secure for this year can be used to subsidise the cost of the kit. But individuals are expected to contribute. So a little bit. We'll move on to a little example of what I mean. So say you are lucky enough to start the year with £300 in your account. Your committee the previous year have done a good job, and you've done a good job this year, and you've got a £200 sponsor. So of course you've got £500 in your club account, and you organise a kit. You have 20 players ordering a kit, and each one costs £50. So it costs £1,000 for your kit. So of course you need a further £500 in your account before we can approve the order. So of course the company can send an invoice over, that's fine, but I can't pay the invoice. We can't process the invoice until all the money's in there. So you have £500 left to pay as a club, and you have 20 members paying it. So that means everyone would need to contribute £25, and only when everyone's paid £25 will the invoice and the order be approved and paid. So again, that is every year. That is a sort of sticking point for a club or two. So please make sure you're doing this as best you can. Of course, make sure you're doing this ahead of time. Make sure you communicate with your members on price and time frames, and be aware that when ordering kit, it can take, every company slightly differently, but it can take a while. So please don't expect to order a kit and it to turn up a week or two later. There is often lead times up to a couple of months for kits, so please be aware. And sticking with the kits and the sort of paying into the club account theme. So when you're ready for individual members, to pay the money in, speak to me about setting up a payment button. So we'll look like this. If you can see, that's taken from Netball a few years ago. So if you say to me, Alex, need a button making for £25 using the last one, I will go in and make sure on your club page on the SU website there'll be a button for £25, and it'll say next to it, add to basket. When your members go on, add to basket, pay, that money automatically goes into your club account. It does take a couple of working days for it to show, but if you speak to me around treasurers especially, or presidents, speak to me around how much is in your club account, I can try and give you as up-to-date totals as possible, but it can take a few working days. Please check with me. You should be able to see when you're logged in as well, but also check with me to see who's left to pay. So again, let's stay with the last example, 20 people. You might check, and I might check, there's only 18 people paid, so we're waiting for the last two. Then please let me know when you think everyone's paid. I'll have a look, and if all 20, or when all 20 people have paid in, that's when I can pay the invoice. And again, it doesn't go in. Paying an invoice isn't an automatic process. It has to go onto our system, has to be approved by another member of staff. Our finance team needs to process it, and then obviously the money has to be sent over to the company, and it can take numerous working days for it to show in their account. So please be aware of that. So on to key events for this academic year. starting with the Welcome Fair. We're in the sports hall again this year. So obviously we tried a couple of years ago out Umbrina homes outside, but the weather was against us one year and it just became a bit dangerous out there. So it's a safe bet to have it at the sports centre. We think it worked really well last year. So it's on Wednesday during Welcome Week. So that is the 17th of September. Sign-up forms are already out. So I think to date, we currently have around 12 clubs signed up. So please make sure your club is signed up and start to have a little think about what you want your stall to look and feel like. And pretty obvious, but the more members you sign up, the better in terms of retention, in terms of if you sign up 100 members, it doesn't mean you're going to get 100% keen to play your first fixture, or fast forward to March, 100% aren't going to be at your last social. So it's really important. The more you sign up on this day, the more chance you have a high number carrying on and staying through the year. So back onto stalls and what you want them to look like and feel like. So here's some good examples from a couple of years ago. We've got all lacrosse teams in the top left, wearing their kits and stash, looking smart. Equipment on show. Again, lacrosse is probably a good example for equipment, where it's lots of people come to university not having played too much lacrosse, so it's a good one to show exactly what they'll be using. We've got our boxing club a couple of years ago, top right. They've got their leisure wear on, and they've got their freebies and giveaways that they organise well in advance using their club funds and some sponsorship money. We've got cheer, bottom right, looking very smart and with trophies after a successful year, club photo, and banners in the back. And then we have in the bottom right volleyball. Again, everyone looking smart in their club kit or leisure wear. Some freebies on the table, kit on the table, club banner, information on the paper there around training times and socials and that sort of stuff. So just try and be as inviting as possible, and give as much information as possible. Fun, if you're lucky enough to have organised some giveaways, that's definitely a positive move, and people get home, don't they? And they have a little look in the evening at what they've sort of seen, and if they've got something in their hand that they can make them think of your club, it's definitely a better chance of them turning up to your first session. So the day after Welcome Fair, we have the colour run. Very successful the last few years. So Thursday the 18th September, so it's a chance to walk, jog or run, or sprint, I suppose, your way around campus, turning paths and people into colour palettes as you go. As you can see in the picture, it's a good chance to paint the campus as you go. So prices and times will be communicated closer to the time, but your ticket price, which is not a huge amount of money, includes your t-shirt, as you can see in the picture, the glasses, you get food and drink, normally a soft drink and a burger or something, and then we try and put on some live music, which again, the last couple of years, it's been a really good event. Been lucky with the weather, but it's been really a good one to invite new members to, or just your old mates, and it's a good social event. On to the weekend of sport that follows. So Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th, or Sunday the 21st September. So please speak to members, your new members or potential members at Welcome Fair, telling them and inviting them along to this session. Every club's chance to run their first session or a friendly, meeting those new members, of course old members too, but this is the real crunch time, this Welcome Fair, weekend of sport, and then the 2 weeks after, that all sessions are free, the real crunch time in making sure these new students and new members see the best of your club, and want to keep coming back and playing or just being part of your club for the future year. So Scott and Ellie will be organising the weekend of sport, so they'll be in contact when your session falls. I know at speed meets, we discuss this. So there are a couple of clubs or a couple of sports who are aware that lots of people play on a Saturday, for example, at the moment. So they want their session on a different day. So Scott and Ellie will try their best to make this happen. And yeah, last point, like I said, on the Monday, the 23rd, this is when the club training starts and the 2 weeks of free sessions. So a really important time. A few more things to go. We've got a committee by-elections in October, middle of October, chance for you to fill positions that were not filled. So some people have been co-opted in, which means they weren't able to be part of the election process in May. So they've been co-opted in, and it's a chance for members to vote. The real focus for us is around the key roles, so wellbeing, treasurer, president and vice, making sure we have all 4 of those filled for the year ahead. Just like the ones in May, the elections in May, they will be run by the union and be online. And I'll be sending out a form probably late September, asking which positions you require. Obviously, if you haven't got a wellbeing officer, for example, then we will put that up automatically. But if you're thinking, I want one more social secretary, or we've filled for a new role, maybe we've got a third team captain now, we want to put that on there, and this is your chance to do it democratically and have your members voting on it. On to tour. So as an SU, we're basically not involved. So we're not endorsing any provider. It's important from our side of things, we want to make sure, do our best to make sure we're as safe as possible. So please keep us in the loop. We can do some background checks on the provider. But it was not to start off on too negative a note, but it's important to note that people have had issues on tour previously. So that's why we want to try and have a little bit of input and say, and just make sure you're going with a proven, successful provider. Please do your research before you book. Really important. And also remember season times. So varsity this year and awards. We're not 100% sure on the varsity date, but awards look like end of later April, early May. So please make sure tour is done at a different time. And if you're going to do your own tour, we will need to risk assess it. So you might just get a flight somewhere and not using a provider, but it is important that we're aware and we can risk assess it. And we'll need to fill in a triple list before you leave and sign the code of conduct. So we have next of kin details. So if any family members call up and there's been an issue, or either there hasn't been an issue, we just like to know where you are, seeing as you're going as a Christchurch club. So yeah, not here to stop you having a good time or stop you going. We try and help as much as possible to make sure you're safe. In advance of going. On to varsity. So pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure most committee members are aware of varsity. 26th season, I believe, 27th season coming up of varsity. So this year, Easter is a bit earlier than usual. So we're just waiting on confirmation when varsity will be. It'll either be the usual spot just before Easter, or it might actually be just after Easter. I know that Kent have changed their timetable slightly, so it might be changing. But we'll have to, or we'll communicate this before Easter. We'll communicate this well in advance. So hopefully August or September. We will then give you some more specific dates before Christmas, and hopefully your specific fixture dates and times, and not too far after Christmas. But yeah, hopefully you can understand there's between 35 and 40 fixtures, so it is a bit of a jigsaw to organise. So we do our best and trying to get it out as quick as possible and try and keep everyone happy. But obviously it's not always you get your sort of the prime slot, as it were. On to SportsFed Awards. So a good chance at the end of the sporting year to celebrating successes and other people's successes. So the dates will go out before Christmas. and tickets will go on sale in January. And these awards are for all members. Again, the varsity date will have an impact on when sports fair will be, but we will let you know as soon as possible. And this is a not-for-profit event. I understand ticket prices are always a good chunk of money for anyone, but it is all not-for-profit, so we have to pay for everything. So obviously venue hire, food, security, photographer, awards, we'll have to pay for everything. That is why we're never going to be able to put this sort of event on for a few quid. It's always going to be 30, in excess of £30, but we do try our best to keep it as cheap as possible. And really important, we'll be in touch a lot closer to time, obviously, but we need your nominations in advance, and they are really important. If you're going to nominate someone you think for maybe Sports Person of the Year, we need to know why. We can't, and the people who vote on the winners, we sadly can't be there to watch every match. We need a nice write-up. Has this person scored this amount of goals? Have they taken and led training when they didn't have to, or the coach was ill? Have they performed at X level outside of university? Have they led your team to winning a certain comp? We need to know as much information as possible to give that person a good chance. I know every year there are one or two people who feel like they should have won an award or been nominated, but then it turns out that their club either didn't nominate or their write-up wasn't very long or wasn't very specific. And like I say, I wish we could go and watch every fixture, but we can't, so we just need as much information as possible. Right, not long to go. Last section is key forms. Hopefully you're aware of these already. So we have the charity and fundraising form. So this is mainly for the president and the treasurer to fill out when holding a fundraiser. And through this, you can request the card readers or one card reader that we organise at the Students' Union. And we organise the money after the event. So if you use card readers, X amount comes through. It's up to our finance team to put the money in the right place. So if you're doing, for example, 50% of the money for your charity event to charity and 50% to your club account, you need to let us know using the form. And then our finance team will send that money off to the charity, and then we'll process that money and move it over to your account, your club account. The form can be found here, can be found online, in the committee hub, but it will also be emailing it out, and then probably in the WhatsApp groups. On to constitutions and risk assessments. Constitutions have been sent out already. There's a blank document. You need to fill in your club specifics, and risk assessments will be sent out before September for you to sign and return. So constitutions lay out your aims and rules and regs for running a club. So it might be how many people on your committee, it might be how many times you're going to meet, and it's just something to refer back to throughout the year. If a member has an issue, you can refer back to your constitution. So I know that this is our sort of rules and regs of our club, so you must make sure you're sort of adhering to them. And risk assessments, like I say, review, and sign. You know your sport better than us. If you see a risk assessment that we've done and you think we've missed something off, or something's in there that's maybe a bit outdated to your sport, the rules might have changed and outdated, please let us know. We'll change it, and then when we're all happy, we can sign it off. And both of these need to be done and actioned and signed off by September, or for the start of your activity, or before the start of your activity. Sorry. So yeah, we won't be have a place at Welcome Fair if they're both not sort of done. So please make sure you're aware of that well in advance. Onto the equipment request form, QR code there to scan and send the form back to Ellie and Scott. So Christchurch Sport look after this, and they will cover the costs for necessary core equipment that you need. So again, like your club funds, I suppose. This is not for your best player who wants a new pair of boots. They won't cover that. But for football, for example, if you're having training and matches, they need to make sure they provide you, or start you off anyway, with the correct amount of balls. Of course, if you're losing them every week at training, then that's where it gets a bit tricky, because it's not on them to replace lost balls. And you're responsible as a club for requesting equipment over the summer, and also, like I mentioned, with the balls, for taking care of your club's equipment. So hopefully by now, someone, or the president, has accessed the club email account. But if not, here we go. Number one is to complete GDPR training, which lots have already done. So thank you very much. The president will receive an email to their personal university email account with the club login details after the 1st of July. Yes, given their password, obviously. And then it's up to the president what they do with that account. So some clubs, the president chooses just to have sole access, or some clubs decide the vice president, treasurer, sometimes the club captains should have access. So they must make sure, the president must make sure that they have completed, whoever they give their email address to, the GDPR training. So you can check with your members, or give me a message and I can check if they've completed it. And it's a Google account, so log into Google and do it. Don't log into Hotmail, because you'll be there for a while. Last couple. So on to Sportsmark, which is run by Ellie at Christchurch Sport. How will your club achieve Sportsmark? So they reward clubs who meet the criteria across governance, so the structure and organising of your club, communication, so internal and external, competition and activity, so making sure your members have got high quality options for opportunities, basically. Social and welfare, so providing support systems for members. And the last one is community and impact, so using your club's platform for greater benefit. It might be going out to external people and maybe delivering coaching sessions, or all that sort of stuff. So yeah, really important to be a part of Sportsmark. Also, the highest point scorer win club of the year, which is a nice accolade. Dance and netball were joint winners last year on the same amount of points. So they both received club of the year at Sportsfed. And there are development workshops take place on all those areas. So again, really important, you do your best to attend. You might not be able to attend all of them, but as a committee, if you can try and delegate and make sure at least one person's attending and feeding back to everyone else on the committee. So last one, just under an hour. Remember, you can refer back to this any time during the year, or skip back to some points that are of interest to you. So what to do over the summer: please make sure you're looking for potential sponsors. Look to plan your kit for the year. Of course, it's quite difficult to order that kit when you've got you're not sure on your amount of members and how many players in each team, for example. But please make sure you're making contact with people ahead of September. You've got some designs ready, that sort of stuff. Please make sure you've fed back to me or Zach how much your club affiliation will be. It can be free this year, but every penny and pound that you charge your members to be affiliated to your club goes straight into your club account. So £10 a player, and you have 20 players. That means you've got a nice £200 to start the year with. Please make sure you're adding to your page on the SU website. We're actually getting a new website in the coming months, but we'll be in touch around this. Please make sure you return the Constitution and risk assessment. Make sure you sign up to the Welcome Fair, and also that GDPR training has been completed, definitely by the president, so you can access your club email account. You'll be receiving some important emails from the SU and from Christchurch Sport over the coming months. Ready to hit the ground running in September. But thanks for having a listen. Any questions, please refer back to the key contacts and give the right person a message. We're here to help. We want to help. The more communication and the more questions you ask, I think the better your club will be run. So yeah, we've got our in-person training on Monday, the 15th of September. So please do your best to attend. 1 till 3. Be more information going out soon. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the summer, and see you in September. Thank you.